And we begin this Sunday morning with breaking news on the war with Iran, as President Trump says a deal with Iran will be signed today. The president writing on Truth Social yesterday that the terms of the deal to end the 3-month conflict involve Iran agreeing to not having and not moving to procure a nuclear weapon today or in the future, and a complete opening of the Strait of Hormuz. The president says at a point in the future and at the appropriate time, the U.S. will then retrieve the remaining uranium and destroy it, that is the nuclear dust, in Iran when all is calm after the deal is signed and in place. Sources close to the talks told me once Iran shows it is acting in good faith and proving the above is implemented, then and only at that time, the U.S. will begin to unlock the U.S. sanctions in place against Iran and begin to help Iran get reintegrated back into the global economy. This after the president announced on Friday that the U.S. took out the leader of the notorious Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, with a swift and lethal kinetic strike. The U.S. labeled Tren de Aragua a terrorist organization, which the Trump administration says is at the root of violence and illegal human and drug trafficking here in America. President Trump is set to travel to France tomorrow for the start of the G7 summit, where the Iran deal, as well as trade and tariffs, will be on the agenda. Joining me now with more on all of this breaking news developments is the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Michael Waltz. Ambassador, great to have you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Maria, and happy birthday to the Army, happy Flag Day, and happy birthday to President Trump.
Absolutely. Let's talk about what could be an incredible birthday present for this president, and that is a potential deal with Iran. Do you believe something will be signed today? What can you tell us? Because I know that Israel and the Lebanon arm of this has created some complications.
Well, sure. The president has every intent that this deal get signed, move forward. I'll leave it to our great vice president and his team for the actual details. But as you mentioned, Hezbollah is attacking Israel. We know there's some hardliners in Iran that are not fans of the concessions Iran's making here. So it's incredibly complicated, and I'll leave it to them to actually announce when they'll sign on the dotted line. But there is every intent that we move forward with the president's vision, and he's been very clear on this for many decades. Iran cannot and will not have a nuclear weapon, and they cannot and will not hold the world's economies hostage with sea mines, attacking shipping, and trying to charge tolls in violation of many international agreements and international law.
Yeah, and I was on a call yesterday where we got the details in terms of the vice president, J.D. Vance, talking about where we are in this. And I guess many of the questions that I had revolved around how we will verify that Iran keeps its promises, Ambassador. So what can you tell us in terms of what the plans are to ensure that Iran keeps its promise not to procure a nuclear weapon, not to support terrorist organizations? Is it just knowing that the Strait of Hormuz is open? Is that one of the important levers to unleash these, take away these sanctions? Or is it something else in terms of verification that you can talk about?
Well, there are two fundamental changes from the horrible Obama deal, right? One is the verification regime. Under the JCPOA, under Obama's deal, there was not anytime, anywhere verification. They could determine or even delay the inspectors. And most importantly, they could just call a site a military site, and then it was off limits. You're absolutely right. This is all about, there is no trust. There is all about verify, number one. And then number two, you're not going to see, these pallets of cash moving up front. It is going to be pay for performance. And oh, by the way, you have to come to a UN Security Council resolution that we snapped back to in terms of lifting sanctions on the Iranian economy. And then finally, Maria, the blockade, this is a huge difference from the past. President Trump's blockade has been enormously effective. This is why you see the regime practically begging for access to any type of economic lifeline. But again, they're not going to get it until they live up to their end of the bargain. So President Trump knows how to drive a deal, and unlike his predecessors, he's got the great United States military and very effective actions by Secretary Scott Bessent to keep a foot on the neck of the regime's economy. So all of those things have me incredibly confident that we're going to continue to bargain and negotiate from a position of strength.
And I know one of the biggest mistakes that Iran made was attacking their Gulf neighbors. And these relations with our Gulf neighbors, like the UAE and the Saudis, have become stronger. The relations with the United States have become stronger throughout this entire conflict. You recently met with the leadership of the UAE. What did you learn in terms of next steps from our Gulf neighbors in the region? They want Iran to be defanged.
Absolutely, Maria. I was able to really sit down with the Crown Prince of Bahrain, who hosts our Fifth Fleet, and has just been a fantastic ally despite the hits they took, and the president of UAE, and they are standing shoulder to shoulder with us. They've already repaired the damage that Iran inflicted, and I think it was a fundamental and fantastic strategic mistake on the regime's part to lash out at the Gulf Arabs like they have. They have seen Iran's true colors, and they are standing with us in a way that I've never seen in my lifetime. And, oh, by the way, now because of the Abraham Accords, we're seeing a security architecture move in place with Israel. Aligned against this regime, and this is a huge step forward.
Yeah, and you have been leading the fight at the UN. I want to get your take on China and Russia, Ambassador, because I know that they have been supporting Iran in all of this, even as China says it has not. Do you believe that those two nations are becoming more isolated on Iran, or do they still represent a support system for Iran?
Well, Maria, case in point, and this is where diplomacy can be so effective with this president, the Chinese have expressed immense frustration at Iran's illegal attempts to toll shipping, including their shipping. Yeah. It came up in the president's summit with Xi. It's come up in subsequent calls and in these international forums. And again, the Gulf Arabs have told the Russians, you better choose wisely here. And so far, they have not been. So this diplomatic isolation with a UN record of 143 nations saying what Iran is doing and trying to hold the global economy is illegal, it's in violation of international law, and they won't stand for it, I think has been an incredibly important piece to keeping Iran isolated and saying you need to live up to your commitments in the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and elsewhere to never have a nuke. Not only have they threatened to use it? One, they could hand it to their terrorist proxies. Two, and the entire region would explode in a nuclear arms race. This is why this president's stand now is so critical for future generations and for global stability.
Ambassador, what do you want to say about this most recent and biggest concern now that Lebanon could become the spoiler to this broader agreement between the U.S. and Iranian diplomatic efforts? We know that Hezbollah launched projectiles and drone attacks into northern Israel over the weekend. Israel responded with its own strikes in southern Lebanon and Beirut. Where do we stand here?
Well, I think two things, Maria. Number one, we will always support Israel's right to defend itself. And Hezbollah continues to attack neighborhoods, schools, and to launch rockets indiscriminately into Israel. But importantly, for the first time, and again, under this president and his leadership, the Lebanese government is sitting down in the room with the Israelis and really taking important steps to finally rid Lebanon of the cancer that is Hezbollah. The Iranians are trying to link the two. We are delinking the two and trying to and doing everything we can to support Israel's right to defend itself. But it also move forward with a diplomatic process so that we can hopefully see peace in the region. And oh, by the way, Syria is an incredibly important component of this as well. And Iran is now out of Syria too.
Real quick, do you believe Hezbollah is acting independently, or is it acting as part of Iran's broader effort to get leverage here?
Look, I don't think Hezbollah does much at all without Iran's explicit support and okay. So this is this is all about its terrorist proxies. And the last thing we should ever face is a world where somebody like Hezbollah could get a nuclear weapon from a regime like Iran. So this is how this is all linked. And thank God President Trump is taking decisive action now before we face such a dark future.
Great point. Ambassador, it's wonderful to have you this morning. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.